of a Sailor Girl, back on the Derwent. I feel like I live here now and I bloody love it. We have no limit coming up the Derwent. We have seen gusts pushing 45 knots, I'm telling you. When you can see the water blowing like that along the top of the water, that means it's windy. What this means for these sailors is that this is going to probably be the hardest bit of their race. No Limit is coming up the Derwent now, and I can see there is a massive tear in their mainsail, which is possibly why they slowed down. They were leading on IRC 0 earlier today. Can they hold that coming into the finish with a torn mainsail? I'm not sure. We will stay live with them all the way into the finish. Oh my goodness, this is just absolutely unbelievable action out here. Now behind No Limit, we have Caro, Warrior 1, Celestial and Guaylo right on top of each other. These are the boats that are all leading on IRC at the moment overall. So we will be making sure that we stay live for these boats as well, because this is where the race can be won and lost overall, ladies and gentlemen. Right here in the Derwent, making sure that the boats stay together in 40, 45 knots of breeze. Not only have they had to run down the coast, now they've taken that right-hand turn into the Derwent, and they're getting absolutely hammered as they come into the finish. So we'll keep you posted on just what's happening. I didn't actually get to talk to Goatsy before the start. I did see him offshore from Cronulla, which was just fantastic, and I do have to say that he has given so much to our sport. He is the owner-driver of the RP63 that is No Limit. He's a former president of Australian Sailing, and has given a lot to the sport. He's got quite a number of good sailors on board that are both his friends and sailing family. So you can see him just along the shore here behind me. And this is a good position for him to be in because there's less wind. So for sailors, you'll know that this is the lee shore. This is where it's a lot safer in 45 knots of breeze. And what this means is that they can feel a little bit more comfortable when they have a torn mainsail and that they just want to get to the finish in one piece and not have any further damage. So, you know, it's incredibly tough race. First you have to get out the heads through all of that traffic, and we saw that start was absolutely immense due to that corridor in between a plethora of spectator boats being incredibly tight with those 109 boats. Now I have to say there have been a number of retirements. You can see in this pressure, of course, there would be a number of retirements, and I'm very, very sad to say that Navy 1 has had to retire. They've had a broken boom. Everybody is safe on board. I reported yesterday that Caro had broken their rudder as well, and I'm just going to check my phone because we do have a chat, and Nick Brown has been keeping us all updated, and it did buzz just before I went live, so I'm just going to check that quickly now for you all as we have No Limit coming up behind me. And Moneypenny, when they finished, we've actually interviewed them. One of their crew was injured and they've been rushed to hospital with a big cut on their right leg. So they actually hit a sunfish while they were ripping downwind at a rate of knots last night. And David Blanchfield was thrown from the bow to the mast and cut his leg open. When we interviewed Sean Langman, his legs were all cut up as well. So yeah, they hit a sunfish basically at pace, and so that's what happened to Moneypenny in the late hours of last night. Huntress has also retired, broken rudder. Enterprise, a PLB has gone off, but accidentally, and so everybody on board Enterprise is okay. So Mondo has retired with a broken gooseneck. Sail Exchange have retired with a broken rudder. And as I mentioned, Navy 1 have retired with a broken boom. And Currawong, the two-handed female crew, are resting in the bay in Eden, and they're checking the weather before they decide whether to rejoin the race. So that's your updated retiree list. I did mention earlier today that we would probably see some more retirements as we headed into today, just with this increase in pressure. It's absolutely honking. No Limit still coming up behind me. So 7 boats have retired, 9 have finished, and 93 are still racing. Soon to be 92 when we see No Limit cross the line. I think they're doing incredibly well given it's torn. I think just below the 3rd batten, from what I can see, they are still about 500 metres away from me. So I will keep you posted on that. But I'm actually going to switch now with Maureen so she can get some B-roll in this beautiful light. And I will take over the video for the live stream. But it's actually in tatters down that leach. 1, 2, yep, the 3rd batten. Yeah, the mainsail. I picked that a few nautical miles away, and there's There's another tear as well above the bottom batten. So their leech has just been getting hammered potentially on the backstay. But they're all on the side there. It doesn't look like there's anybody missing from the crew. So great job to them there. But you can see that there's no point taking it down at this point. They do have one reef in as well. So, yeah, crikeys. Hard going. Hard going indeed. Oh, my goodness. It's so windy out here. We picked up a garbage bin out of the water before we headed out here. And we also had a situation with, we were alongside Law Connect when we were interviewing Moneypenny, and Law Connect's fenders, their massive maxi fenders, actually blew off the dock, attached to the boat, but blew off the dock and up onto the deck of InfoTrack. That's, old InfoTrack, Law Connect now. But there you might be able to see the tear in the mainsail. So there's a tear in the mainsail. What this means is that they're not working at all. And basically there is nothing they can do at this point, given how windy it is. They just have to hold on. They're tacking now. I think they will have one more tack into the finish. There's a band of breeze out there, which is far windier than where we are here in this lee shore, up underneath Hobart and Constitution Dock. It's a lot windier here where that rib is going across. It's probably 45 plus out there. In here, it's only about 30. So I know which shore I'd be wanting to hug. And they're really limping in here. I think that's the best way to describe it. They are limping into the finish line here. They just want to get across it without any further damage and without hurting anybody. And if they tried to get that mainsail down now, they do risk hurting somebody, and they don't want to do that. They're going to wait until they can slow down, cross the finish line, put the motor on, and take care of everybody, because this is a sport after all, and at the end of the day, it's all about keeping everybody safe, well, as safe as possible. Sport comes with risk, fun comes with risk, but that doesn't mean that we want to purposely cause any harm. So great effort by Goatsy and his team as we head into the finish line with them here. They are absolutely smoking. You can see the wind blowing off their bow wave. That's how windy it is. And there's that hole in the mainsail. And there's a massive puff coming now. Oh boy, that is really windy, and it's backwinding them. Oh, massive header. Starting to go south. Trying to go left this breeze. You want to stay out of their way, but keep them in the middle of the action as best as you can. Oh, this is intense, guys. There's a tear in their jib as well. They're just going to get across here. Rosie hanging on up the back. Declan in the pit. Barney in the middle there, just making sure everybody stays in one piece. And whoa, I just got saturated. Sorry, guys. It's absolutely smoking here. All right, they're coming into the finish here. Oof. You can see how windy it is here as we see No Limit cross the line for the 77th edition of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. It's absolutely smoking from the west northwest. But a big shout out to Goatsy and his team. That's his 11th Hobart. His sailing master is David Allen. Steve Kemp is doing his 24th, the navigator. We spoke to Kempy before the start. He'll be on the red wines later. Declan Brennan has just finished his 20th. Congratulations, Declan. Good mate of ours. Aaron Cole, Azza from North Sales, Paul Eakins, Tony Ellis, Julian Freeman, Lucas Geddes, Charlie Goodfellow, Charlie Gundy, Rowan Leaper, Duncan McLeod, Mikey Muth, Blake Robertson, Andrew Simpson, Steve Trunay, and Ian Walker doing his 34th Rolex Sydney Hobart. If you could just go a little bit to the left, Shieldsy, so I can get the boat on the screen. I know it might be a little bit wetter, but perhaps God can let me know. I'm just trying to sort of manage this, ladies and gentlemen, like show you the most vision I can whilst also keeping our equipment ready to go for the TP52s. I actually can't see any TP52s yet. I might get God to let me know whether we should keep going with this stream or whether we should have a little break. What do you think up in the box? Really? I can't see them. Apparently Caro is where we first picked up No Limit. I cannot see Caro. Oof. There you can see that damage on that mainsail. There's our boat from last year. Hey, Willie Smith! Woo! Hello! Big supporter of ours from last time from Willie Smith Brewery out on his protector. We'll come alongside. Yep. So we're just going to come alongside No Limit here. Declan up on the bow. Barney up the back. You can see this massive puff coming through here. It's smoking. We're going to stay with No Limit here for just a little while. And then what we might do is go to a holding slide just so that we don't bore you with vision of an empty Derwent until Caro comes in. Apparently they are just around the corner, but I can't see them yet because it's so windy. We actually have essentially a layer of sea mist blowing about a foot off the top of the water. You might be able to see it's quite white just here. So any kind of silver boat with black sails is going to be incredibly difficult to sail, even though I do have incredibly good eyes. We'll just stay with these guys if they get this mainsail down, which has come down relatively easily, which is a blessing. Even though they've torn right through. Oh no, they've still got a leech line, but they've torn right through under 1, 2, 3, 4. It's actually the 5th batten. They've got a half batten there. It's torn underneath that half batten. Far out. Underneath the 3rd speed stripe. Oh, that's scary. Goatsy! Woo! I know, you need a beer, buddy. That was vicious. Oh, big hugs on board. Barney. Nitro's on board as well, I believe. Handshakes to the back of the bus up here. This is actually super lovely. Wendell shooting over my shoulder as well. So don't forget, guys, later on today, once we aren't live and we've got a chance to edit, we have interviews with every single boat that has finished so far. We'll have already seen the maxis, but we'll have a maxi highlights reel that will go up. We'll have a mini maxi highlights reel that will go up, and we'll have an interview with all of the mini maxis that have finished thus far. You might be able to hear just how windy it is as I keep my eyes out down the Derwent to try and get a view of Caro, the first of the TP52s, Charlie Gunny on the bow. You're going to need all their muscle just to hold that jib down in this pressure. It's absolutely smoking. Kempy up the back there. Hey, Kempy! Yeah, I love it. I need you to ask Kempy if he's going to go wine for wine with you to the knots that you just had up the river. Great work. We are not leaving you, ladies and gentlemen. We will be staying live. We are going to this Barney walk up. We are going to stay live for the TPs. They're just a ways down the river. So as you can see, it's incredibly rough out here. We've got some storm clouds coming in and we're in between a change. So what we're going to do is manage our equipment and make sure that you see the TPs coming into the finish line. So please don't be alarmed. We will be live. We are staying live. We are not going anywhere. But what we are going to do, I think, is run our highlights package from start so that we can have a little bit of a look at that highlights package just to give us a little bit of a buffer. And if we could get that ready, what we might start doing is actually just running a few of our highlights packages for you so you can see what we have been covering in the lead up to today's finishes. There's been a stack of content coming out, powered by Musto Australasia. This hard-working rib here, I think we have to give these guys a shout out. They've been the marshal boat for every single boat that has come in. Go, you hard workers! Woo! We love our volunteers. So that highlights reel was on the 26th of December. It's called, I believe, the 26th of December review. But you can see in here in the dock all of the people watching and waiting for their loved ones or just cheering on sailors, which is something that we don't see all the time in the sport of sailing. We're going into the dock shield, so you had enough, mate. He wants to come and sit in the dock because it's so windy out there. So we are staying live, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you we are staying live. And we will do the TPs. Woo! They've got a torn mainsail and a torn jib, but they're fine. They're all good. Deb Wallace there, the partner of Goatsy, just asking how everybody on board No Limit is. And we're going to do a little bit of a dock tour here. We have highlights reels from the 25th, which recapped all of our interviews. I think we've shown that one already today. Run to the highlights reel from the 26th of December, which shows the start and all of the gloriousness from being offshore of Cronulla Sailing Club. And a big shout out to Cronulla Sailing Club as well. They are exceptionally awesome supporters. We will be back very soon. We're just going to go to a quick holdings, then we're going to run a highlights package for you, but we live with the TP52s as soon as they come around the corner and they're heading up the dirt. Stay with us. We'll be back very soon. Do you think it will be windy? First Hobart?
Yeah, first Hobart. Forecast is pretty awesome.
Hey, Marine, how are you?
Sailor girl. How are you, boys? Girl?
Good luck to everybody, I think, which is lovely. And then I might finish this on the dock then.
It was an action-packed start to the 77th edition of the Rolex Sydney Hobart, with the light and northerly conditions condensing the 109-boat fleet in between the armada of spectator boats. were many protests and penalty turns as the boats battled up the harbour, but once they turned south out of the heads, the downwind sled ride began. The northerly gradient, which is forecast to build overnight, has already claimed 2 retirements. However, the front-runners on line honours have been nudging record pace, with Celestial leading a tight pack of TP52s on IRC overall. Timing of the southerly front due on the afternoon of 28 December, or perhaps earlier given what we saw today, will determine the overall outcome of the race. We will keep you posted from Sailor Girl HQ.
Il y a Poulpito qui vole, Clément.
This is Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl, and as you can see, we are in Hobart at Constitution Dock. There are boats out there still racing, and thank you so much to everybody who has been sending us footage. If you have a team that wants to send us footage, we would love to feature them. It's not just about the winners for us, but speaking of winners, everyone is out there and everyone is racing. It's an empty dock behind me, but that will change later this evening as we await the line honours finishers. Comanche's in the box seat at the moment, but it's looking sticky around the entry to the Derwent. We'll be live and we will call all of these boats, well, as many as we can, into the finish line, not just the winners. Speaking of winners, on IOC overall at the moment, the double-handed entry, Mistral, MC34, Greg O'Shea and Rupert Henry leads not only in the double-handed division, but overall. So could this be a major upset? Looking forward to keeping you posted on that one and bringing you all of the action from Hobart live and in our amazing recaps, both in French and English. See you soon. Interlude there to have a break. It's been exceptionally windy out on the Derwent, and I have to say that we are absolutely exhausted because we have been going all night and all morning to bring you all of the live coverage. We've been live for every finish and all of the interviews so far, and at the moment we can see Caro coming up to the finish. This will be the first of the series of TP52, and I've got a hunch that this is where we're going to see the overall race win come from. So we will keep you posted, and what I'm going to do now is take this camera off Wendell. He's doing a great job here, and I'm going to spin this around so that you can see Caro here. Wendell will get back on the stills. This is Max Klink's Caro. We did catch up with them before the start, which was amazing. I spoke to Justin Ferris, in fact, who is the sailing master. Here is the finish line that they will come to, and I'm just showing you the finish line, ladies and gentlemen, because there is a lot of water blowing over the windward side of the hull as we rip down here, and I want to keep the equipment dry, because if I can't stay live, you will all be very upset. So whilst I protect this equipment and we get ourselves into position to bring Caro into the line, I have to give a massive shout out to the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania for providing us with this platform to be able to live broadcast, and also to Musto for powering us out here on the Derwent and also at the start. But here they come, looking very tidy with a reef in and a very small jib. Beautiful boat handling, which I don't doubt. They just got a massive header. Massive header, in fact. I'm just going to look here for this amazing boat, as I did mention, owned by Maximilian Klink. This is his 6th Rolex Sydney Hobart. But this boat was actually launched in 2021. It was designed to win classic offshore races and has shown early promise with a 4th overall in the 3,000 nautical mile transatlantic race from Lanzarote to Grenada in July. This boat in 52 scored an IRC CSA 1 victory in Laval December and cleaned up against the other two in Ichiban at Hamilton Island Race Week, where I was lucky enough to first meet this team as they come straight towards the finish line here. They're going to be close, and we're just going to position ourselves to leeward of them, I think. Steve, they keep getting headed as they head across here, so it's a bit hard on us here. But on board, Justin Ferris, as I mentioned, is the sailing master. Jules Salter is the navigator. Mark Bartlett, Ryan Godfrey, Kian Guilfoyle, Kelvin Harrick, Andrew McCordwale, William Parker, James Peterson, and Jonathan Swain. Grab them here on the left-hand side. Beautiful vision of Caro here. It is an absolute weapon of a boat. Max is actually steering, which is fantastic to see. And we're lining up here to show you the first of the finishes for the TP52s. Just going to jump in here if I can. They just got another massive header, so they may need to tack to cross the line here. A good 40 knots has been coming through at times, so gusting 40 knots, I'd say an average of 30. So they look nice and steady here as they come into the finish. This means everything. They're going to tack. It's all good. We're aware. They won't lay the line. They're going to tack now. Great job. And Caro crosses the line, and they will nervously watch the clock now. There is a lot of breeze for those other TP52s to battle, and they're the first to cross it. Great job from this team out of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron with the Swiss owner. You can see James Peterson up the back, everybody high-fiving. Oh, that was an emotional race, I think. Ooh, this is nuts. What a good-looking yacht, though. Can you see that snub nose that I mentioned with the downward-facing downspread? It is an absolutely glorious-looking boat. I think they're going to bear away across our bow. Just windward or leeward, Shieldsy, because I need to get a shot. Thanks, mate. Legend. Oh. Will Parker on the bow there as well from Sydney Rigging. He had a busy old time. And I can see Warrior 1. They're about 10 minutes away. So whilst Caro gets sorted, they were dubbed the favourite before this race because of their win at Hamilton Island Race Week over Ichiban, who won at the Tattersall Cup last year. Whilst we can see these guys packing up now and getting organised, we might get the interview with Justin Ferris that I did before the start, ready to roll just while we kill a little bit of time. But I will talk you through this boat. Oh my gosh, Max is up on the bow right now. What a good skipper. Sorry, owner skipper up on the bow helping his bow team out right now. What a legend. You don't see that every day, ladies and gentlemen. No wonder they all love sailing with him. They say he is a complete gentleman, and I can tell you that he is. Very, very, very humble. But they will be watching the clock as the boats behind keep pounding into this breeze. They want more wind. There he is up on the bow, shaking hands with the bow team. That's beautiful. That's just beautiful. James Peterson, South Australian, up on the bow. He won last year with Ichiban. And we might now go to my interview with Justin Ferris, the sailing master, before the start. Caro are done and dusted for the Rolex Sydney Hobart 2022. The first over the line in the TP52s, but now it will be a nervous wait to see who will take top dog in their division on IRC and potentially the overall win. This is Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl on board Caro, is how we pronounce it, for everyone who's been wondering. I have with me Justin Ferris, who's the sailing master, for those who need a term. Basically, he's making sure that everybody's in the right spot, but Caro is definitely one of the favourite TP52s heading south.
Well, I think we're feeling pretty confident in the forecast and in the boat. I think it's pretty well set up. You know, the boat was conceptually designed around the Hobart race, so it's pretty tough. It's certainly got the offshore capability, but it's still a relatively new boat, and the forecast is going to be challenging, so anything can happen.
The forecast is definitely challenging. We've had this series of southerly streams that have been coming up the coast, but maybe a bit of northerly. It just depends on when that next southerly front comes through, I guess.
Yeah, at the moment it's looking like we just get there, so which would be nice, because it's it's going to be 40 knots downwind and then it's going to be 40 knots upwind. So if we can sneak around the corner, it'll be a lot easier for us, that's for sure. Yeah.
A lot easier indeed. But these guys, for those who don't know, Caro, they actually beat Ichiban at Hamilton Island Race Week by some margin, who won last year's Rolex Sydney Hobart, which is why a lot of people have put you in the box seat. Does that come with a bit of pressure, or?
Oh, I think it does. We're the highest rating 52. We've certainly put ourselves in a bit of a corner as far as the opposition or the other 52s. But we need to sail a good race. If you're going to win this race, you need to sail a good race. You've got to be clean and you've got to get it right. So, it doesn't matter whether we're fast or slow, but whoever's going to win the race has got to get it all right. And that started months ago. But no, we're ready. The boat's in good shape. It's we've been sailing all week. Nothing's broken. Touch wood.
Yeah,
and
I'll touch some wood when I go.
So we're feeling like we're ready to go.
You have actually a Swiss-German owner. How does that work?
Well, he's a member of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, and that's the club that he wants to represent. And perfect. I'm not going to knock it. As a Kiwi.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have NZL behind this boat.
I think that's important. Every sailor wants to be representing a yacht club of their choice. If you're not living there but you're representing them, that shows a lot of camaraderie, so that's important.
Definitely is, and there are 2 Kiwis on board, so we feel like it's a Kiwi boat. We certainly act like it is. So, yeah.
Well, that's good fun. I'm going to let you go because I know you've still got a lot of preparation to go. Obviously the boat's in good nick, but the crew, you've got to make sure they're all in the right frame of mind as well.
Yeah, we've got an awesome crew. We've got some of the best sailors, offshore sailors in the world on board. One thing Max has always been keen on is having top quality crew, and we've poached a few from Ichiban, which is nice. It's sort of filled up our quota of crew, and we've got a good bunch of people. Certainly makes it easy.
More soon from here at the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia for your Rolex Sydney Hobart coverage 2022. Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl. Welcome back, adventurers. We just had the first TP52 cross the line. It was Caro on line honours, but there is a fierce battle going on. I'm not sure if you can see, and perhaps we can pull the tracker up, but if we can't, no worries, because I'm sure you've all been glued to it. Guaylo and Celestial absolutely on top of one another. And at the moment, Celestial, who came second on IRC last year, and here you can see the tracker, they came second on IRC last year following a protest, so they've really had something to prove this year as we have some rain to add to the mix of the breeze today. Warrior 1 is in the distance, so we'll be live for them as they finish, and then Celestial and Guaylo are like this. They're absolutely glued going up the eastern shore of the Derwent, so we will stay with them as well into the finish because they're looking very, very good on IRC. Unless something goes majorly wrong, and I'm going to say it now, but I said it last year, so I don't know if I should say that. And I do have some wood down here, and I've been touching wood for the whole bloody regatta. going to touch wood. Unless something goes majorly wrong, Celestial has quite a hefty lead at the moment on IRC overall. And because they are an older TP52 compared to boats such as Caro, which we just saw finish, their rating is not as penalising as such. So every single boat on IRC has a rating depending on the modifications that have been made, or the newer sails, or the age of the boat, or the weight of the keel, and a whole bunch of things that get plugged in, which creates a number. That number then gets multiplied via their actual finish time, creates a corrected time. So when you're looking at the standings and you see that corrected time, there's corrected time and there's actual time. Line honours is actual time, corrected time is IRC, and that's where we get our overall winner from. So it means for the sailors who are at home waiting, they want to see who's going to win on IRC. And what I can tell you now is this IRC, after everything that went down last year, it could be a bit of a big story for them. So after coming second and losing via a protest, which was a safety issue, which definitely had to be upheld, and they did need to maintain a listening watch on 16, will they get the ability to prove that they do have it in them and actually take the win without any bits of paper and without going to the room? I'm telling you now, that would actually probably feel really nice for them and for their supporters. But also, I feel like last year, Matt Allen won on Ichiban, and you never win the room either. So he's at home and he's not actually doing this race this year, so it might actually be a nice finish for him to know that he won last year and Celestial have won this year, and there's been no paperwork involved. So it's going to be a pretty emotional finish if that is the way it pans out. I can tell you now the Warrior One is absolutely smoking up the Derwent, and they have an exceptionally good TP52, which rates right in the middle of Caro and Celestial on the spectrum. So they do need to get a bit more distance on Celestial, and given that it is incredibly breezy and puffy, anything could change. So that's where we're at. That's the lay of the land. Everything's to play for. The Tattersall Cup is yet to be decided, and it could come down to the wire. And then, of course, we've got the small boats to finish. So with the southerly due, it doesn't look too good for them. So that's where we're at, if that makes any sense in the world. And if anybody has any questions, put them in the comments, and Andrew will do his best to pass them over. But I'm going to take the camera now and spin it around. You can see there that Warrior One is quite a way away, so we might see if we can get an interview ready. I have played it before in the live feed, but I think we should play it again because it is with my good mate Clarkey. He has won a Hobart Online honours on Comanche. He's also done incredibly well on handicap with Wizard. He's won a number of major races, and this team have actually won a number of major races recently since they upgraded from an XP44, which they last did the Rolex Sydney Hobart on. So I think if we can find that interview whilst we've just finished with Caro, as I mentioned, if you have just joined us, and we are waiting for Warrior One to head into the finish, and I can see in the distance actually Celestial and Guaylo heading back towards the eastern shore, very, very close to one another. We might roll this interview with Clarkey, and we'll be back with you soon on the Derwent for more action with the TP52 finishers. Oh my goodness, I just need to spin over here for a minute. You can see just how puffy it is on the water here. Look at this puff that's just bulleting through. And the more that this breeze starts to swing into the south, the more it's actually getting affected by Mount Wellington up here. So it could get incredibly puffy as this breeze starts to spin. You can see the clouds developing over here. There's quite a roller, and we are waiting for that southerly front to come through. Here's Wendell. He's been working his buttocks off. Nice jacket, Wendell. Yep, see, this is how hard it is out on the Derwent, ladies and gents. Plenty of photos to come from Wendell, and plenty of highlights, reels to come from Marine as well, and I'll have all those interviews to run. But speaking of interviews, let's run the interview with Clarkey, with Warrior One, before the dock off on the, I believe we caught up on the 24th of December before the start. Here's Clarkey. This is Nick Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl, feeling very tall this morning on Warrior One next to my good mate Clarkey. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you this morning?
Good, really good, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The forecast looks good for you guys?
Yeah, you know, I think, yeah,
it's hilarious, right? We always think it's going to be a southerly. You're going to, have to beat our way there, and even clouds is like, wow, it's another year, and a great year. It could be a record-breaking year. I've never, as we do as strategists and tacticians and routers, you sort of look at the weather and you're like, yeah, the last couple of days it's all been very aligned, looks very stable, looks very quick, and now it's like, you start thinking of all those things that you don't normally think about, particularly North Americans, like, how am I going to jibe this boat in 40 knots, if it does get that windy off of Tasman, and yeah, so it looks a bit spicy at the end, but it looks like a glamour race.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. And the Warrior One team has gone from strength to strength. I knew this team and owner when it was an XP44. That's the last time it did this race. Now it's a TP52. She's grown a little bit. There's some amazing sailors like yourself on board. Canadian on an American team boat, but that's all good.
Hey, if I was waiting for Canadians to do this race, I would not be here, would I?
No, yes. You wouldn't. But we love you for it all the same. So, I mean, the team is fantastic, and how are they going?
It's good. We've had an awesome 5 days of prep. As I said in our sort of debrief yesterday, I don't think I felt as prepared for a race, particularly on this program since I've been on board the boat. We've just had that opportunity of just being able to tick lots of boxes and tick them twice, and some of them 3 times. And we're sorted. It's good. The crews come together. We got a couple extra people that we haven't sailed with before, some new faces, and either we chose wisely or they're very good, but they just kind of just slid into it, right? Just like they were natural.
That's perfect. And the last time you did this race, was that with Wizard or Comanche? Because I've lost count.
I'm not like a Noel Drennan. I've only done 5 of these. Last one was with Wizard.
With Wizard, yeah. And I think the last time I saw you was Newport, Bermuda with Wizard, and then you've jumped on board with this team, and it's actually won a few races now.
Yeah, it has a nice little track record going. Chris Sheehan's awesome. He's got a very just sort of great attitude of work hard but just be humble, and let your actions speak more than your words. And
the Larchmont Yacht Club way. Shout out to anybody from Larchmont. I think they all tend to be that way.
And I think as a team, we just let our actions speak, and we've been pretty fortunate to
Well, let's see what
jag a few and
jag a few,
and let's see if it can continue.
How what's your rating like compared to boats like Caro or Celestial, who are sort of front runners in the TP52?
Well, it's funny how you mentioned those two boats almost on opposite ends of the rating spectrum. Caro owes us a good chunk, and then we owe a good chunk to Celestial. So, it'll be interesting to see, when you get into the meat of the race, where we're all kind of sliding in, and is it that indeed, like the rating says, or or are you looking in the rearview mirror? Or are you being aggressive, looking forward? It's sort of, I don't know, and the uniqueness for us. And at least Caro's come down and done, and Hamo and has gone against the Australian boats. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Right, like we literally don't know what to expect. So, the interest, the good part is that, and I think it happens all the time anyway. It's now set in stone. You can't change anything. You can't control anything but what you do. So, your cards have been dealt, and you look at your hand and you hope it's a good one.
That's why I think we love sailing, Clarkie, because you've got all these variables, but all you can control is your own performance on the day, and just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's just hope that we drew a hand of aces.
Fingers crossed for you. So we'll keep you posted on the progress of Warrior One, but I think it's time for you to head to the official briefing. We're already up to that point in this regatta already. It's gone so quickly. 2 sleeps till Boxing Day.
And I'll make sure they're long sleeps.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're on a very windy and wet Derwent. In fact, Wendell's life jacket strap is blowing in front of the camera every now and again, which is quite hilarious. We have Warrior One coming up to the finish. They are about 5 minutes away. We just heard from Clarkie there. That was my interview with him before the start. He's the tactician on board with Chris Sheehan, the skipper and the owner and the driver. There's a lot of people who are multi-skilled in sailing, and he's definitely one of them. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick update on the IRC overall results. Of course, this is always changing all the time, but at the moment, Celestial has a significant lead, followed by Guaylo, and that is why they're really match racing each other up the Derwent at the moment. In third, Hobart has moved lined up, but I'm not sure whether he's going to make it in front of this southerly change. Bruce Taylor, he was leading on IRC at one time, but he's the time to beat at the moment. Well, Celestial is going to be the time to beat. The time to beat, of course, is all the boats that have already finished. But at the moment, first on IRC is Celestial and Guaylo. We will see them both finishing after Warrior 1. Then Allegria Republic, Warrior 1, Quest and Caro has moved down after finishing. So it's going to be really interesting how this develops, and we'll keep you posted. But at the moment, these sailors are racing the clock, and they will not be leaving an inch. So I'm going to take this camera back now off Wendell, because I'm pretty sure he's going to want to get into position, and you might be able to see in the distance there. Sorry, I think I cut the feed for a second there. My mistake. You might be able to see a very, very bright blue hull, and that is Warrior 1. Beautiful TP52, which Chris Sheehan has had for a few seasons now. As I mentioned earlier, following his XP44, he decided to go large, and he purchased this boat. So I'll tell you a little bit more about this boat. But he placed 47th in the 2017 race with his former Warrior 1, which was the XP44. He updated in 2019, just pre-COVID, to this boat, which was the former Bad Pack. It was a pack, a TP52, the Trans Pack, with his Connecticut-based team out of Larchmont Yacht Club. And I gave a big shout out to Larchmont in my opening interview there with Clarkey. They won the Stamford Vineyard race in 2020, and they won the Raw Caravan 600 in the Gibbs Hill Lighthouse division of the Newport Bermuda race, which was an epic win for them. And in the other division of the Newport Bermuda race, of course, Stan Honey won with his wife, which was an amazing feat in their old timber yacht. Now, some of those crew from those wins that I mentioned are on board, including the tactician Richard Clark. He's a Canadian, and I love him a lot, as you saw in that interview. He's a 4-time Olympian for Canada. He's a Volvo Ocean Race winner. He's done a lot of racing with Ken Reid, and there's also a lot of handy Australians on board. Ben Lamb and Mal Parker are on board. Mal Parker fresh off the World Match Racing Tour with Riptide Racing, where they placed second in the World Match Racing Tour final. So he was prepped for some match racing up the Derwent, but that's not what we're seeing here today. The Warrior 1 are very much on their own, but there is a match race behind them, and that is between Guaylo. I can see Guaylo out on the left-hand side, and also Celestial. They might have released each other, actually, but they were definitely match racing at one point. It's definitely a white boat down there with some red wet weather kit on board, and I think that is Guaylo, and they're pushing. Smuggler is at Eastern Shore. They're on Port Tack at the moment. They're well in the distance, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm sorry about that. But we're about to have Warrior 1 come across the finish. It's blowing at times. It's an average of probably 30 knots out here, down to about 20 actually in this lull. My dad just sent me a screenshot of sea breeze, and we definitely got 45 knots at times there, so it is smoking out here. The last boat that finished had no damage, but like most of the boats before that, the mini maxis all had a little bit of damage on board. Stefan Racing, if you missed it, they blew up their jib while coming into the finish, and Willow, the Volvo Semi, overtook them coming in. No Limit had a torn mainsail and a torn jib. Money Penny had an injured crew person. They've got a few injured crew people, I think, but one of them's ended up in hospital. So it's been a bit brutal at the end of last night and this morning for these sailors, especially as they've had to start heading upwind. But I can see Guaylo really trying to get some distance now on Celestial, because they've got to make up about 14 minutes at the moment on IRC, so that's a big ask. But you've got to be in it to win it, for sure. A big reef in on this TP52 as well. Caro also had a reef in. Big puff coming through now. Whoa, when it's a header, it's really starting to go left here. That southerly is going to come in any tick of the clock. It's definitely in the west now, would you say, Shieldsy? Yeah, west-northwest. Oh, baby. Oh, I'm just going to show you how to get it. Oh, tenths. I was skipping along in for, and someone said, "Don't skip, you'll blow away." Well, I'm a bit heavier than that, but thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate you, Nick Brown. But here she comes, Warrior One, bow 003, out of the USA, a pack 52, formerly bad pack. And you can see she's handling these breezy conditions incredibly well. It's interesting that the first 3 TP52s or the first 4 TP52s are rated incredibly differently. And these guys just haven't managed to get enough time on the others behind them. But a big left shift here too. We'll try and get off their bow. Whoa. They're almost planing up wind on the TP. That is beautiful. Yep. This is a nice shot, Shieldsy. Good job. Mal Parker to Lewis trimming there. Looks like a few of the life jackets have inflated on board. That's how wet it's been. We've got one more tack to the finish, I think. No, this is good. Keep going with them here. Yep. We're going to stay on the outside of them, I think. Yep. They'll keep going a bit. They won't tack till they lay here. Now, this is the boat that I saw with 4 headsails on. They had a jib top, a staysail, a jib, a spin. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. They were smoking downwind. They won't tack until they absolutely know they're going to lay, but also that pinhead looks favoured to me. They're tacking now. Let's just stay on the outside, Shieldsy. Great job. And we're with Warrior One here, ladies and gentlemen. If you've just joined us, our Rolex Sydney Hobart coverage continues, powered by Musto. There's Christian on the rail. They're racing the clock. The TP52s are the ones to beat at the moment in this race. Ben Lamb up on the rail. Clarkey looking for a spot. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful action here. We're not going to cross the line with them, but we will call them in. And I can definitely say that this finish and this result for Christian's Warrior One as they cross the line will be a lot better than the 47th or the 57th. I can't remember exactly, but a much deeper number. They will probably secure themselves a top 5 on IRC with that finish, if I was a guessing woman. As we look behind, I've got Guaylo coming upwind and Celestial coming upwind as well. It looks like somebody's got a storm ship on back there. I'm not sure who that is. That's a bit concerning. Somebody may have blown a head still back there. That actually might be Chinese. Oh, sorry, it might be Whisper. So I think Whisper with a storm ship on. So that might explain. Phil Clinton was commenting, and thank you, Phil, for watching. And you had so many positive and lovely comments. Thank you for that. He was wondering why Whisper, which is a JV62, is behind some of these TP52s. And given that I can see an orange jib down there, I'm guessing that they've blown up all their headsails. Or they don't have a J4 on board. But there you have Warrior One. They're radioing in their time now when boats cross the line. And a big shout out to the guys in the finishing box, guys and girls, of course. When I say guys, I mean both sexes people, so just take it on the chin, eh? The guys and girls did the start box recorded time. There's a self-reported time as well, so they call in with radio to give a self-reported time. And then they double check that time and what it ends up being. So, great job by Warrior One. Woo! Big waves from Christian on board. I have been at the finish for this man at many a race at the Fastnet, Rolex Fastnet race, when he finished in Plymouth in 2019. I did have a case of beer on board for him. I don't have one today. No beer for you. I'll bring you beer later. He's such a legend. Gentleman of the sport. Lots of people watching from home. Good job, Chris. Beautiful work from Warrior One. Maybe not enough, but what a race they have had. For those sailors who are watching the IRC standings like I am, they will know that Warrior One is perhaps in the top 5, but potentially not in the first position, which is where they'd want to be. Pretty much didn't do many times. Sorry, I think I lost you there for a little bit later. And we spoke coming into the finish, which is Guaylo, and behind them is Celestial. They're within 6 minutes of one another, I would say. That's not enough time for Guaylo to beat Celestial on IRC. Guaylo getting a big header here. He's going left all the time, so I'm really surprised to see them going up that right-hand shore. I'd be going left. Is it going left? Is that just me, or? So here comes Guaylo. We're going to come in on the windward side, I think. Shieldsy, or windward side? Looking around. Celestial are behind Guaylo, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to stick with Guaylo for the time being, and then we will go back to Celestial. We give everybody love here at Adventures of a Sailor Girl. Bubsy on the rail. All big hikes. You can see how breezy it is here. And in the distance, you might be able to see that fluoro orange tube, and I believe that is Whisper. After Whisper, there's a big break, guys, and we'll go and do some on-the-jockey interviews and start editing about other interviews and reels, so please stay tuned. We appreciate you following. But the more you like, and the more you share, and the more you watch, the more we can do as a company. So really do appreciate you watching and sharing and helping us keep Celestial does something right to win. Factually, they are a TP52 that does not rate as well as Celestial. So they need to get a lot of time in between them and Celestial to win. Emotionally, this means that right now they're actually hoping they're tacking something towards Celestial, and they're also really hoping, and that's really hard to make people like wishing something bad on them. You never want to do that. Woo! Woo! So gorgeous. I'm going to go this way. Trying to stay out of the way of Wendell. He's shooting some amazing shots here. I just got quite wet, and I'm not sure if I'm live, but I'm trying. Excellent. Oh, baby. And it's gone very left here. Oh, that is smoking and seriously left. That's good 40 knots now. They just here, and they're well ready. Hat's just gone overboard. Ah, too bad. If you just joined us, we're with Guaylo, the third TP52 that will cross the, well, 52, because some people will say Caro's a boat in 52, but it'll be the third 52 footer to cross the line in a bunch of 52 footers. I'm going to try and clean my lens for you if I can find a lens cleaner. Oh, Wendell's the best. It's not too bad. Okay, cool.
What now?
Yeah, just go for it. Clean The GoPro and that lens, yeah, good work. And the top one. Yeah, great job. Thank you, Wendell. It's quite wet here. That's perfect. Thank you, sir. If you lost vision for a minute, it's because we're making sure you can see. Bit of an oxymoron on that one. It is absolutely honking out here. I'm not sure if you can see the wind blowing the bow waves off the boat. That means that it's essentially over 30 knots. And they've just gotten a massive header. And these guys are just hoping and praying that they've done enough to get enough of a gap. Celestial had them locked for a little bit, but Guaylo managed to get free. They're tacking, they're fighting. They're really fighting here into the finish line. They want every little second that they can get. Come on, guys, up on the rail. Let's go. Oh, another header. This is not good for them. This is not good for them. Oh, that's a bit of a concession there from Guaylo. It's very puffy in under here. So I've just heard from the official media channel that Celestial's actually torn their mainsail. So that is going to slow them coming into the finish. So perhaps Guaylo have gotten their wish, but I think they've conceded. They don't know that that's happened behind them, and this is where every little second comes into play. And will Guaylo be thinking, that's it, we didn't do enough? Or, I mean, it just shows you that in yacht racing, you really need to fight until the very end. And set up to take on the conditions that face you no matter what. You watch these guys bear away. They may not be able to get the bear away in. It's so breezy up here. Okay, is that better? I had a lot of noise on my mic, guys, so I'm just checking it for you now. It's also because it's blowing 40 knots out here, so please bear that in mind. Sometimes I am going to get wind across the mic. Like you can see here that it is absolutely honking here. And, Celestial is tacking over, so we'll try and get some vision with Celestial, which will potentially be our winner overall for this race. Making sure, by the way, we all have life jackets on here, and we are wearing life jackets on the water at night and in the daytime. So, if anybody's wondering, if I can get them one side or other, that'd be amazing, Steve. Thank you. Copy. Perfect. Sounds good. All right, Celestial on screen here. I can definitely see the top of that mainsail. Bearing in mind that every second counts here as this wind continues to build. They're almost reaching in. It's gone so far left. That actually might play into their hands, so to speak. Whoa, it's windy. It's going very left here. If they lay the finish line here in this southerly, they will win this race, even with a busted mainsail. The other boats had to work up this section of the course. And I can see the busted mainsail there. You can see it flapping. You can see how windy it is too. It's absolutely smoking. It's just gone right again. So they may have to wind that jib on and try and work, but they've got no leech tension. Yeah, we're going to dive here, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready. 2, 1. Swapping sides. And look at the wind blowing off the wake of the other spectator boats here. And we're going to come and sit on their hip and make sure we get some good vision of them coming into the finish for who could potentially be our overall winner in this Rolex Sydney Hobart yacht race. You can see they're all a very long way back. And they're beating again now, right shift. Oh, and I'm just going to pan a little bit because you can see that Whisper down there is getting hammered. It looks about 50 knots down there. Whisper is getting absolutely smoked. Celestial is going to get across this line just in time. Oh, it's pretty wet out here. I'll try and call them into the way, ladies and gentlemen. They've got a little way to go, but they've definitely got enough of a gap on Guaylo. Sam Haynes, owner of Celestial, about to finish his 12th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Navigator James Dagg about to finish his 3rd. Also on board Lewis Brake, Callum Cecil, David Chapman doing his 8th, Troy Grafton, Robert Greenhouse doing his 6th. Also a massive winner in the Volvo Ocean race. Josh Jr., Jack McCartney, Frank O'Leary, Malcolm Parker, Luke Payne, Lindsay Stead, Harry West, and Wolf Hawkins. Honking. It is honking. Oh boy. Probably got another tack to go, or do they? Hard to tell. You can see, oh, that broken maxle up there. Oh, good. This is your current leader on IRC, ladies and gentlemen. It is absolutely honking here in Hobart. But Celestial will cross the line to be clubhouse leaders on IRC in the Rolex Sydney Hobart 77th edition. Your clubhouse leaders, I believe, I need to check the scorecard, but I believe that they may have done it finally after a delay last year. Oh, big protest last year, and Ichiban won overall. Ooh, it is windy. They think they've done enough. We saw this last year. Hugs on board. It is so unbelievable to be out here. Robert Greenhouse on the helm. He's not celebrating yet. He wants to get the boat back to the dock. I'm just getting nervous for them. And I have to say that as a matter of fact, these guys have sailed an absolutely beautiful race, and they are sitting in the top as clubhouse leaders. As a sailor, that is a very, very, very good position to be in. There's Sammy Haynes giving me a wave. And as a friend of Sam Haynes, I am now nervous. So I'm not meaning to be negative, ladies and gentlemen. I am nervous. So given all that has gone on in this sport, I mean, to win the Rolex Sydney Hobart is not an easy feat, as you've seen today. The conditions are incredibly variable. It's tough out there. This is another life jacket that we've seen go off. That's how wet it is. So, fantastic action. James Dagg giving a thumbs up on the camera cat there, even with the torn paint still up the top there. Holy moly. Jack McCartney giving Sammy a hug. Rob Greenhouse still looking serious. Not a win until it's on paper for Rob Greenhouse. Yeah, it looks like they've blown their head. We just had a question from the comment section, and yes, it looks like their headboard is gone on the top of their mainsail. And we're actually going to leave Celestial now. We'll come back. We're going to see them on the dock as well. So, woohoo! Good one. We're going to go back and get Whisper, ladies and gentlemen. They are not far off the finish line now. There's plenty of time to come back and get more with Celestial. And I've got a feeling we're going to see plenty of them over the next few days. It's windy. And there goes Celestial. There's a big crowd waiting for them at the dock as well. It's wet out here. We're going to have a bit of a break. We cross the line. See them. I'm going to pan in I'm just keeping the camera dry for now, ladies and gentlemen. And now we're slowing down. Whoa. Wasn't that successful. Nothing, all good. I hope you can still see this, ladies and gentlemen, because I can't see my screen because I'm absolutely dripping. But here we have Whisper, the JV62, owned by David Griffith, with daughter Holly on board and a bunch of legends. They are limping into the finish here. This is why there's a bit of a gap between a 62-footer and the 52, which was asked earlier. They're flying a storm jib. Got one reef in by the looks of things. And I am now absolutely saturated. So I've got no hope in actually being able to tell you too much about the positions of the boats or anything else past this point, because you'll just have to go via what is on the screen here. But I've been absolutely drenched, and there's no way that any of my technology is going to work beyond what we currently have right now. This is all that we have on the screen here. Whisper coming into the finish. Holly gives us away. Noel Drennan is going to tack. Yeah, he's telling us they're going to tack. They're crossing the line now. Woo-hoo! Whisper crosses the line. The JV 62. That's going to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go and do some interviews on the dock. We've got Cheers on board with Whisper. They're pretty happy with how they did and that they finished with a storm jib. Great job from the boys and girls on board that boat. Absolutely epic. Just going to flick this camera around on me now. You can see just how wet I am. It's a bad hair day now in Hobart, but it's been a bloody great day out on the Derwent. I have to say it's been windy, but we've seen some wins and some losses, some breakages and some absolute triumphs in regards to people overcoming adversity and finishing no matter what. We will keep you posted on how things progress on IRC, but as I mentioned, it does look like Celestial may have taken the win on IRC. They're definitely clubhouse leaders. We'll be back with you soon, but for now, we're going to finish it off, go have a shower and a cup of tea and do some interviews. Big Douglas for Adventures of a Sailor Girl, powered by Musto out.